This
Recording.
conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. This is Niobrara's 2019 facility plan meeting with the State Construction Department, and we'll introduce ourselves first.
Good morning. My name is Brandon Finney. I'm with the State Construction Department. My role in the team is to identify the capital construction needs and present those to various legislative bodies to get funding.
Amber Leach with planning and analyzing. My role is to work with the districts and help with the documentation for today's facility plan meeting.
I'm Raj Dami. I'm the accounting analyst, and Amber and I have kind of assumed Charlie's role ever since he moved to Plat 1. I mostly deal with information from the AIM database.
Good morning, everyone. This is Bob Herzog. I'm the regional project manager for the northeast portion of the state, of which Niobrara is in that area. I am the project manager for all the projects in that district, including the security projects.
Good morning. I'm Troy Decker, planning. I'm joining this conference via the beautiful town of Rawlins this morning. So my role is quality control to make sure our facility plans abide by all state statutes, rules, and regs. Make sure we capture everything we need. We're part of a budget team that puts together a budget recommendations to the commission, as well as collecting data and making sure that our database is up to date so that we can give accurate reports to both the commission and to the select committee on school facilities.
Very good. George Merrick, Superintendent, Niobrara County School District number 1.
And I'm Stuart Larson, Business Manager, Niobrara County School District.
Okay, well, welcome this morning. Thank you for joining us. So you should be able to see my screen, and I'm going to go ahead and do a few things here. I'll kind of highlight Paul's name, and if he doesn't come here, we'll eliminate him by the end of the meeting. So with that, the first part is housekeeping. So one of the important things these facility plans do, they do multiple things. For new personnel coming into school districts, because we have changeover business managers, facility directors, superintendents, it's a great resource for you guys to know what's been talked about in the past, how to prepare for this year's facility plan meeting, things like that. So it's just a great record for both the state and the district. And then the other thing, and we have had requests from the governor's office, individual legislators, with regard to if they want to see a facility plan for a very specific school district. This is a really good, succinct way to give them a very holistic understanding of your school district, both visually and in data, and then in notes of what's going on, or the latest events and the latest facility status of your buildings within your district. So the other thing we've really improved on over the years, and that is that Charlie, starting last year and then this year as well, started using the county GIS sites. And so when it comes to sites for acreage and stuff, that's our authority, and certainly I think our database is the most up-to-date and accurate it's ever been. We've also just put in a few visuals here, just as illustrative of your district and those properties that you have. So taking care of housekeeping duties, the reason we have Amber working so hard with you guys on the front end of this is because it's nice to maybe get the formalities out of the way, and then we can spend time with the whole group, the larger group, honor each other's time in discussing those things that really need to be discussed. So with that, then I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but district, please stop me if you have any questions or concerns, and then we'll slow down in those portions where we're going to have a lot more talking back and forth. So you have reviewed the acreages and verify accuracy. This does impact your groundskeeper allowances, so thanks for doing that. Land leases, state statute requires us to track those. And so we have those captured within a spreadsheet, and we appreciate you doing that. You don't have any need for land disposition or acquisition, and for the land portion of this of the database, our database is updated. Property profiles, you've reviewed these property profiles. That's a building by building descriptor, has all kinds of information in there, and you've verified accuracy. square footages do impact your major maintenance, allowable square footage, and then also it affects your WDE operations and maintenance payments. So we appreciate you doing that. Just we get enrollment numbers from WDE. They do a first school day of October, and it takes them till about December to scrub all that data. They send it to us. That's how we do enrollment projections. And then they also provide us ADM, which is what generates or as part of the formula for generating major maintenance payments. And then we send a lot of information back over to them from this database, and then that goes to them, and they start generating your block grant fund. So important stuff, and thank you for taking it seriously. You don't have any building leases, so we're good there. You've reviewed enhancements and verify accuracy. We need to report this on an annual basis to the select committee. So let's go to the first notes here. Whoops, let's go to the very first notes here. Niobrara County, you guys put, district will be exploring the establishment of a preschool coming under our control, you say, which will cause a need for a future expansion of facilities. So I assume that you're wanting to use your K-12 facilities to host a preschool here. And when would that be?
We haven't set a date on that. We've been exploring what that would look like and how we might be able to fund that. So this is very preliminary, but when and if we will want to start talking about a preschool facility as well.
Okay. So let's just talk about that just a little bit. State statute allows us to fund anything from K through kindergarten through 12th grade. It does not cover preschool. So we don't have any authority to ask for requests or make recommendations to the commission based on preschools. However, within your buildings, you get to use those however you wish. So if you guys want to use a classroom in your elementary or whatever for a preschool, that is obviously your choice and you can do that, and that's allowable. Amber, what I do want to ask though is preschools, are there sometimes, if you use certain spaces within your school district and lease it out for whatever that, maybe it's $1 or whatever, but if you lease and it's a qualifying educational program, we can actually pay your major maintenance for that if your ADM drives that. But I don't know if just a private preschool wouldn't drive that. But Amber, give us a little clarification on qualifying preschool and when and if that would qualify for major maintenance cover in that space.
If it would be a private preschool, private individual receiving the monies, then it would not be a program that would be valid for that space for major maintenance. However, if it was like Head Start, a developmental preschool that is recognized by the state and is under a governmental entity program, then that space would be considered, yes.
So private, no. Governmental, yes.
Yes.
Got it.
So that it supports that entity.
Okay.
And two of them would be a developmental preschool or a Head Start.
So guys, as we go along here, one of the things that we really like to do, we respect things on your plate, and sometimes it's more of a learning curve than anything else, but I always do responses to that. So but if you see something you disagree with or anybody, just let me know. But basically I have said the database is up to date for your property profiles and enhancements, stuff like that. Secondly, the state construction department has no authority to request funding for preschool facilities. And again, it's just simply because of state statute and the authority we have to help you with that. So again, we kind of clarified that, but you can use any space you want in order to house a preschool within existing facilities, and it's just dependent whether it's a government or a private, whether or not you'd be covered by major maintenance. But if your ADM is low enough, even if it was qualifying, it wouldn't drive major maintenance if your allowable didn't take up the space up to the space that the preschool was in. District, does that make sense?
Yes, and everything you said is true up to this point. However, with the move of preschools in the state of Wyoming from the Department of Ed under the auspice of the Wyoming Department of Education, you're going to see more and more of this because it is going to be a school district issue. But that's in the future. You know, they just barely got the change of authority or oversight of preschools in the state of Wyoming moved from the Department of Health to the Department of Education.
Hmm. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, as certainly as the legislature, if they were to consider then bringing that over and stretching from instead of kindergarten to 12th, go down to preschool through 12th, that would certainly allow us then to engage the basically capacity calculations with regard to that and potential appropriation requests per districts on an equitable basis through some kind of prioritization process. And we'd be happy
Yes,
to do that.
yes, I'm fully aware that it's not part of the process yet, but as this unfolds, I'm anticipating that it probably will eventually be a part of this process.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks for letting us know that. Amber, do you have your video turned off now?
Yes, I did that right away.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Troy, I had one follow-up
Sure, go ahead.
on the, can you scroll back up a little bit?
Oh, I'm sorry.
On the preschool facilities, the room that it's in, if they had one, how's the capacity looked at there?
Right. Actually, thank you, Brandon, because that's exactly what I was thinking. And if we could hold off on that just a minute, we're going to get down to capacity and I'll show you how that works. Is that good?
Yeah, just so we're all on the same page when they have it.
You bet. I agree with that. Yep. That's exactly what we're going to look at. Good thinking. District appropriations. Bob, there is one that 2846 Lance Creek, and my understanding, this is very thorough. Thank you, district, for filling this out. And Amber. The project's in motion, and by state statute, we review these on a yearly basis, see if there's maybe leftover unexpended appropriations return. But obviously, this is at the beginning, and we're sure excited about that Lance Creek modular, and hope that's a successful project for you guys. And we'll just wait till next year to let the dust settle and see what kind of monies are left over, and see if you're done. And then we'll, if there are, then we'll do what session law requires us to do.
So Bob,
Very good.
planning on knocking it out this summer.
Mhm.
Nice.
Okay. All right, Bob, security.
All right. We have a little prepared document here I'd like to read for you folks. The original funding for security was done during the 2014 House Enrolled Act number 0056, which is House Bill 0042, and that was the amount of $9 million. Funding projects was defined during the 2015 Senate Enrolled Act number 0089, Senate File 0057. The current budget request is in the joint appropriation draft bill. Is that what we put their status
On the security?
Yeah.
Funded.
It has been funded.
For governor's signature.
Very good. That was a fiscal year 2020, $2.9 million for additional security projects. For fiscal year 21 to 22, 10% of the major maintenance for security has been discussed in select committee to not be in fiscal year 21 and 22. This is unlike the 10% enhancement fund. Continued 10% security major maintenance is not assured in the future. Overexpending security funds may be a district concern if funding is not continued in the next biennium. Previous 10% security funding of the major maintenance in 2016, the Enrolled Act number 0012 for fiscal year 17 to 18, a school district may spend up to 10% not distributed under the major maintenance program for the period commencing July 1st, 2016 and ending July 1st, 2018 for safety and security building and facility needs. In the 2018 House Enrolled Act number 0062 for fiscal year 1920. The same thing applies. A school district may spend up 10% of the amount distributed under this program for the period from July 1st, 2018 to July 30th, 2020 for safety and security building and facility needs. District requests for cap fund revisions will be honored. Moving funds between project appropriations must be in writing to acknowledge there will be no backfill funding. The SFD will honor change agreements made by the SFD that are captured in a written record. The goal of security funding is intended to give each district an equal opportunity to provide consistent security standards for Wyoming K-12 schools, and that's the October 2020 report. This commission and select committee for facilities have continued to identify concern with the slow deployment of funds. That was the original $9 million they were concerned with. Other potential funds that are available to school districts that are not SFD administered are the Homeland Security funding. You can contact your local Department of Homeland Security for available funds. Also, there are the DOD and private grants that are available on an irregular basis. We are suggesting regular district searches to see what monies are available from those sources. Regarding our security conferences, our first conference was held in October 2017 at the Ramada Inn Convention Center in Casper. And we had a March 2018 conference at the Central Wyoming College in Riverton. October 2018, we had another one at Laramie County Community College in Cheyenne. And for this year, 2019, we have not established dates and locations. We intend to have a new conference on, I understand we will have going forward this year. The final question we have for you, what can the SFD do to help the district forward with the expenditure of current funding? You have a current balance right now of $104,998.27 that has not been allocated to projects. So what can we do for you guys?
We have two projects where, well, actually three, but I don't know that one of them falls under this auspice. We've already submitted a work order for two-way communication from 5 of our exterior doors at the high school, and they are video talk through, buzz through for people to come in and out of the building without having to walk all the way around the front to the main entrance, yet have all those doors secured, to the tune of about $15,000. Second project is we are working on the vestibule entry, main entry at the elementary building, in which we are going to turn one of the doors into a security talk-through window, and not an entry, and a buzz through to come through the vestibule, and hopefully we'll be able to do that project this summer, and then secure the elementary building as well. But part of this whole scheme is our IT wiring backbone at the elementary school will not allow us to put in any type of video surveillance. It won't carry that much data. So we are going to be rewiring the entire building over there for about probably in the neighborhood of $70,000, in which we can then, one, enhance our tech backbone in the building, but then we can upgrade to video surveillance and recording in that building as well. So I don't know that that falls under any of these topics, but it is a project that we are going to be doing this summer.
Okay.
So Bob, talk a little bit about the technology backbone. I take it we're talking about what, CAT? What's the latest, CAT, or is it fiber? What do you think in their district to replace your, what do you have,
CAT.
a lower, go ahead.
We would like to put in Cat 6. We have have a combination of twisted bears and cat 5 that really they're not even functional anymore, actually.
So why don't we have after we can set up some time here to have a conversation and see what's available as far as the security monies that we've got. Take a look at some of these specific locations, see if we can help you out a little bit with that. But it'll have to fall underneath one of the categories, but we can certainly have that conversation.
This is Brandon. We had a presentation from WDE about E-rate last week. Do you guys, have you utilized any of those funds for technology and infrastructure and stuff?
Yes, the E-rate funds are currently being used on the switches and our wireless access points to help offset some of the costs that we have with those items.
All right, yeah, just another bucket of money. Might as well try to take advantage of.
Yes.
Good. Sounds like you're going down the line where we need to go.
All right. Well, thank you, District. Yeah, it's really important that you do spend those funds. We do have on a regular basis, legislators ask us, why aren't these districts spending the funds? And then when we ask for additional funds, that can sometimes be a hindrance because we're not spending the ones they have already. So we do appreciate you moving forward with that. That's great. So you have those capital security monies. You've got the 10% security, which doesn't need to qualify for major maintenance. So as you work through whatever you're going to do with the two-way communication and the Cat 5 upgrade and stuff like that, whatever doesn't qualify for your capital funds may be covered under regular major maintenance. That's probably the first place you want to go. And then after that, your 10% security funds, which don't have to qualify definitionally for major maintenance, they can be spent on anything that falls out that cannot be covered by the capital and the regular major maintenance. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. And then the other thing that you guys have received these two payments, you got 102,000, and then part of your next payment in July, and then you'll 75% of your payment, and then 25% I think in September. 10% of that will also be allowed for basically around 50,000 more. So you guys should have about 150,000 going into the fall as you receive your next major maintenance payment. And it's not being generated. It's just a portion thereof that you're allowed to spend out of that major maintenance.
Very good.
Okay, wonderful. The other thing we always try to remind you guys is just make sure you don't overexpend that 10% security, because we don't know when the next batch is going to come. Other than if it's approved in this one, you'll get that other 50, but after that, we just don't know. And then I don't know if you did ask Bob, I'm not quite sure if I heard you say this, but have you guys participated in the security conferences that have been offered across the state? And we certainly encourage you the next ones we offer as well, but just wanted to know how your participation's gone and if you've found those valuable.
Our tech guy was at the very first one, and I do not believe we participated since.
Okay. Well, we certainly encourage you to do that, and I guess for several reasons. Number one is it allows you to be the best you can be with regard to safety and security on your campuses, but also just the simple fact that it allows you to get some local training, doesn't cost a lot of money, and also exposes you to other school districts and what they're doing and how they're overcoming the challenges of expenditures and what they're doing to make their students the safest possible. So, all right. So capacity is next, and Brandon, I think this is where we'll kind of bring in our comment also on with regard to the preschool. So one of the things that drives capital funding, of course, and stuff through the state is capacity. You guys are at about 11%, 3 out of this is as of October, which that's probably one of the lowest numbers I've seen there. I think you guys usually have more than just 3 at Lance Creek, don't you?
This is the second year in a row we've only had 3.
Okay.
Normally it's been around 10.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 7 or 8 or 10. Okay, good. Anyway, you guys got plenty of room there. Your elementary, middle school, you have, give or take, what is that? 200 and some seats available, probably 249. So that's good. And then your high school itself is at, looks like you guys have about over 200 seats available there as well, about 282 to be exact, I think. So you got plenty of room with regard to that. Now, we say that with tongue in cheek because we recognize these are capacity numbers. They're objective capacity calculation. School districts always have challenges. I've never been in a school yet, no matter what the capacity is generated through our calculation, where they're not using all of the rooms in one way, shape, or form. So we recognize that, and there's a lot of programs you guys have to deliver. But according to the calculation, at least, you guys are looking good with regard to your capacity. Any comments on that?
Nope, you're correct. We have some capacity.
Okay. And so and again, our job is to try to educate as well as possible. So thinking about your preschool then, the first place we would look at the capacity and say, are there non-construction alternatives? And according to this, it would say, not easy, but it would allow you guys to say, hey, there's capacity in there, therefore we would not be able to ask for funds until capacity drove to such a point where if preschools ever brought into the adequacy standards, capacity would be one of the main drivers for determining whether or not to ask for state funding to help you guys.
Nope, agreed.
Okay. Do this real quick. Okay, so enrollment, we brought up, thanks Raj for sending that to me, or Amber. Let's look at your enrollment numbers. Nothing new to you guys, you know exactly what your enrollment numbers are, but it's nice to explain how this works. So the methodology through the commission is we always take 10 years of trailing data into the past, and these are actual enrollments. And then what we do is we project out 10 years into the future and try to anticipate what that, if the same kind of pattern would continue, what would that look like for you guys? And then it's a mathematical calculation. So it's just whether it's accurate or not. The fact is, the farther out you go, the less probability there is for its accuracy. So we get that too, but wouldn't it be wonderful if you guys grew to 412 on the brick and mortar? But we recognize also that assuming that you guys are an agricultural community primarily. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. So usually that's based more than anything on birth rates and some students coming in and out. But how these work is you take it's a survival rate. So you can follow like the 2008 kindergarten goes to 2009 first grade, second grade, third grade, and you can follow that class right on down as it heads toward 12th grade. And so what we do is we actually compare the transition from one grade to the next. For instance, 2008 kindergarten number was 37, 2009 they were 36. Then we look here, 2009 kindergarten 27, 2010 26. And what we do is we take 10 years and of the survival rate and we average that out into an actual percentage on the end of this. And so from kindergarten to first grade, you guys have us 82% what we call a survival rate, a statistical survival rate. And so there's usually two reasons for a drop that you guys are experiencing. You have a program that for your kindergarten that you guys, if students aren't developmentally ready to go to first grade, you hold them back one more year before going to first grade, or you have students moving out of the district and going somewhere else between the kindergarten and first grade. Which or what other probability or possibility is there for you guys?
Those are the two possibilities.
Okay. Looking at your kindergarten, it's always interesting, and I'm sure this is again a birth rate type of thing. Most likely, you had a great number of students, which is exciting for you guys. Your average in the last 10 years has been 29 students, so almost 30 students. You guys are pretty consistent in an agricultural community like you are. Pretty consistent. You had 1 year was a little bit lower, but everything else is up around that 29, 30. This year, you had a great class coming in. And then as we look over here, then you guys gain those students back from first to second grade. You have you actually, I shouldn't say you gain, you lose just a few more, 97% survival rate, and then you guys start basically clear through. You guys have a fantastic retention of students, pretty well clear through after first grade, clear through your system. These are outstanding percentages. Probably, I would say, guys, unless someone else knows something different, Amber or Brandon, I think these are some of the best survival rates we've seen in any school district.
Probably.
So for some reason, you guys are having students actually move in quite a few years here during the school. It's during the K-12 experience as a class moves through. At any rate, you guys are just a little over 300. You guys were lower than you were around 10, 9, 8, 7 years ago. But it looks like you guys are kind of maintaining around that 300 mark. Any other comments on your capacity or your enrollment?
Nope, that looks about normal for us.
Yeah, I like your
Okay. Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? Let's hope for that. That would be great. Yeah, we recognize that every one of these students, give or take, is worth about 15 grand a piece, and we know that every student means your ability to provide the resources, adequate resources for helping them learn. So we do have a statewide list here. Amber, when I send this to you, can I have you do some corrections on page breaks?
Yes, I will do that.
Okay, I won't waste our time here. So across the state, we always like to show this. There is a statewide capacity list. We do have quite a few districts above 100% in certain grade configurations, and you can see those. Maybe I can make that a little larger. And so the reason for this is last year we didn't have these numbers above 100%, but what happened was the commission changed their capacity methodology for restricted capacity kindergarten through third grade to up to 25 students per room if the rooms would hold them. And then they got a lot of pushback during rules and regulations process, updating the rules and regs from districts. So they said, okay. And so they just went back and restricted capacity at kindergarten through third for their calculation to 16 students only. So what that did was it pushed a bunch of elementary schools up above 100% in the calculation. And you can see that there are quite a few here that have a need for additional space for those students. One interesting thing on NIO01, Casper, is that they're about 300 seats short in the schools they're using, but they just mothballed, I think it was last year, 4 schools with 921 seats available. So as a non-construction alternative, we would look to this first and foremost before we ever ask for money to resolve that. You've got some one medium capacity there at the Laramie Junior High School, and then a few at from 90 to 95%. I just said here, I always read notes before I have these meetings. I do preliminary notes, but a district has sufficient capacity for enrolled students. Charter schools, you don't have a charter school, so we're good there. And then, George, are you familiar? I think, Stuart, you are, but are you familiar with what FCI scores mean and correlation of an FCI score to a building? Can I spend just a few moments explaining that, if that's okay?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay. So the lower the FCI score, and FCI stands for Facility Condition Index score. And so what happens is, and this is just an example of how it's calculated, the higher the score is, the lower the condition of the building, and which represents a greater percentage of deferred maintenance. And so as those buildings age, you go from preventative maintenance to major maintenance to forecasting larger major maintenance expenditures in older buildings to eventually considering maybe some capital investment to either remedy, renovate, or to replace that building. So when you come down, like this is just page one of 500 or 400 and some educational buildings. And so there's about, give or take, 30 buildings on here, and you can see the highest like is in Sheridan, and it's a 0.71. That would have the most deferred maintenance because it has some real systems that are lower or poorer or in failure in that building. That one's already actually been demolished. But anyway, that's kind of what that represents. So the lower the number, the better condition the building's in. You guys don't have anything up in the top 30. And then we have this one for your for support buildings. So state statute requires the commission to consider capital requests for education buildings before support buildings or ancillary buildings. So the important thing on ancillary buildings, you guys are not on this, at least the top 15 or so on ancillary buildings. You are on the list lower on. But the important thing here is just to know that with the shortage of funds that the state of Wyoming's experiencing, that educational buildings are certainly will continue to receive money. When it comes to capital funding, we don't know when support buildings will receive those capital funds in the future. So major maintenance is an important part of taking care of those buildings, because right now it doesn't look very probable that capital monies will come for support buildings in the future right now. You guys, we always break you out. Your highest one is Lance Creek at a 0.48. That's being replaced. Congratulations on that. We're sure excited for you. And maybe Brandon and I went and visited that, talked to the previous superintendent with regard to just that project and planning and what that was going to look like. And if you don't mind, George and Stuart, we'd like to maybe drop by some other time in the future when we're heading through there and see that new building once you guys get it in.
That would be great.
And are you guys going to tie that or attach it in any way, shape, or form to the gymnasium portion, or are you just going to replace the other? I guess it's a modular, isn't it?
Correct.
Yes, yes. We're just going to replace the modular, and we will maintain that 20 feet between them. So it'll look a lot like it does now. The entryways will be a little different, but it's going to look very similar to what it does.
Troy, one quick question. I think earlier I heard you say something about us not having leases. I know we did an update with Amber, the lease on the gymnasium. You have that reflected, I'm assuming.
I was having a hard time hearing that, but Brandon or Amber, could you answer that? I didn't quite catch it.
Not to repeat, I too, it was breaking up.
Stuart, you might be
Yeah.
just far from the mic.
Yeah, I'm closer to the microphone now, but earlier I thought I heard you say something about us not having leases. And I know we updated with Amber the lease on the gymnasium building, and I just wanted to double check that you had that.
That lease that was actually not bought, but handed over by the oil company, is my understanding, is now owned. Amber, is my recollection incorrect?
Troy, I added that lease into the facility plan. It is not.
Yeah, we paid the lease last summer and planning on paying it again this summer. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
The lease is still standing as is in the past.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
As far as we know, yeah.
The lease was in there.
a little higher.
We
Under
leased the property. Yes, we leased the property acreage, and it includes the gymnasium, stage, art room, such.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, we're good there. So yeah, we do have that captured.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, so I was just looking at this real quick, guys. Just I think it's such a cool place. But anyway, this is the leased building, and it is an oil company, wasn't it, that owns that?
Yes, yes.
Wonderful. And then, of course, the modular. And I think we talked about drainage here. And Bob, I'm sure you've been on site and are helping these guys, but correcting some drainage. And so just a really, really wonderful little rural school. And I think it's going to be awesome that you guys are going to replace that modular with an updated version. Is that going to be on a cement foundation, or how are you guys going to do that?
It'll be on pilings. We're going to have to redo some of the substructure, but it'll just be on pilings.
Okay. Yeah, these project man. Go ahead.
Well, I was looking at your picture. It's a little outdated. The all of the ancillary buildings, the teacherages and such, have all been removed from the property. So there's only two structures there: the main gym and attachment, and then the modular. The rest of the buildings have all been removed.
Okay. And is this a private home right here in front? Or
No, that was teacherage, and those
Oh,
have
okay.
all been removed as well.
Okay, great. All right. Well, neat little school. We thought that was just the neatest place.
Yep.
Oh, I was going to comment, the project managers get all the fun. In planning, we just kind of plan stuff and they get to actually go out and make a difference.
Okay.
All right. So continuing on here, then you did mention, I think we talked about support facilities. You said your VOAG shop bus maintenance roof is leaking, need immediate repair. I assume you guys are doing that with major maintenance. Is that how you're handling that?
Yes, I submitted it as a component project,
Oh,
but we will probably end up spending major maintenance on it to make sure we get it done. It's
okay, let's
number
look down.
28, I think. Yeah.
Okay, there we are. Well, since you mentioned that, we can kind of skip down for just a second. Yes, that is 28. Thanks for pointing that out. So probability of that being funded is probably not real high. Brandon, our average per biennium is what for
10,
component projects?
give or
10?
take around 10 million.
Okay. So we're hoping though for you guys, and you obviously you're number 2 on this list, and we're hoping your fire alarm system for that almost 600,000 is going to be covered, and just depending on what the commission decides, and of course our director works with legislative leaders and the governor's office and try to make some budget requests. So, but you guys positionally on this list look good, and hopefully that money will come through for you.
Yes.
So, who put that together, Stuart? Did you or the request?
Oh, no, George would have done that.
Oh, George, you did that?
Yes.
Okay, well, you did a great job, and you must have communicated well and stuff. And in reality, I mean, you've got 31 projects for a total of 39 million. You were number 2 on that list. So you must have represented that real well and helped that committee understand your needs. So thanks for doing that.
Oh, very good.
Okay, and I did say here, I just made a note that Lance Creek has already received those capital funds, so I think we're looking good for you guys to move forward with that as well.
Very good.
Okay, get rid of that. Major maintenance, you guys clean up your work order statuses on an annual basis, thanks. And then you do submit planned work orders, major maintenance to Bob, and he approves those which qualify. Looking down at your major maintenance based on your 680 that Stuart submitted and after July or after June 30th, you do have that 10% security funding. So that's really important for you guys. Again, definitionally does not have to qualify for the major maintenance definition. So you want to kind of save that and use it. You'll have about 150,000, give or take, by September, but use that wisely and for those gaps that may not necessarily be covered by your capital funding or your regular major maintenance. 10% enhancement, that's kind of for buildings, or you can use it on things that don't necessarily qualify within the adequate standards, like field lights for sports fields, teacherages, those kinds of things. So that's a good source of money for those kinds of things that normally you would probably have to take out of your budget, your normal budget for the school district, and this allows you to have a little more freedom. It still has to meet the need or the definition of major maintenance, but allows you some freedom on some items that would not necessarily be within the normal approval of the state for spending money on with major maintenance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. This is just an example. Again, we're just trying to give an example of what your priorities were last year. We don't really need to talk about it, but from greatest standard foundation, greatest need to least, and then a building by building breakdown. That's just illustrative. Your 2 scores, you have some poor scores and 1 scores are failure. And so every year we have legislators ask us, are those school districts spending major maintenance on the highest priorities, the lowest scoring systems? And so we just let you speak for yourself. And if someone asks to see your school district, you've answered it, and we appreciate that. Obviously, your Lance Creek is being covered by a new modular. That's going to take that off the plate, which will be a blessing. So you don't have to spend that major maintenance on that. And then you guys have other things basically going on in other buildings you've answered. So thanks for that. Here's how the scores are given with regard to percentage of deficiency per system, and that drives an actual rating. And then this is really important one for you guys. We have to do condition assessments. State statute requires every 4 years. And so what we do is we just want to let you know that that's coming up next year. So this fall, we'll put together a scope of work. We'll go out and procure a professional to do that, a professional firm, and then we'll go through a process. But the one I wanted to point out, and George or Stuart, I hope you've attended this, but we're going to have training next April. It won't be on April 1st, most likely, but it'll be in April of 2020, next spring. And we do train districts. It's only a 4-hour meeting in Casper. We show you what the tool is, how that condition assessment tool is used, what scoring means, and then the importance of your participation in that. And I think it really helps school districts if you know what the tool is, know how it's used, and know how the consultant uses it. Then the information you provide when they're on site you want to give them the most accurate information possible, so they have the most accurate condition assessment possible to represent how you're taking care of your buildings and also your needs that may not necessarily be met through major maintenance because of limitation of those funds. So did you guys, Stuart or anybody else, did you guys attend that last 4 years ago?
Let's Willie did it. I don't know, not that I'm aware.
Not that we're aware of.
Okay.
Troy, is that
Well, anyway,
something that's more for like a maintenance person or business manager? Who's the target audience on those?
Yeah, great question. It would be whoever knows your buildings the best. And the reason I say that is because when they come on site, and in the past we've had, and we don't have this very often because I kind of I don't scold districts, but I make my point. When those when those assessors come on site, you don't want to give them keys and say have fun, come back at the end of the day. You want to walk side by side with them. And whoever walks side by side with them should be the person that understands the buildings the best to give them the most accurate information as they ask questions about the heating system, the roof, what are the challenges, this system here, how's your sewer, all those things. That person who knows the most about the buildings should also be the person that attends the training.
Sounds good.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we hope to see you there. All right, congratulations on that number 2 on the component list. You're farther down on 28. I guess you can cast up a prayer on that one. So you're number 2 there. You've acknowledged that. I've already continued to just mention the fact that Lance Creek's being taken care of, so I think we've got that covered. Session law, Brandon.
So the session is just about to end. I'll hit the items that are in green here because they're bills that have passed. So we got Public Works and Contracts. That's procurement of FF&E. So it would be looking at keeping the specifications written in a way that local suppliers are able to provide the products. Procurement amendments, House Bill 65 passed, increasing the dollar values up to 50,000 using present values. They were written back in the 80s. A lot of them are really old and dated, so nice adjustment there. Hopefully help you out. House Bill 78, this is the major maintenance is not this next year, but the year after will go to quarterly payments. House Bill 79 is funding school finance, how they can move money. Let's see, another green is underground utilities. So it's about notification. So when you guys are doing the septic tank and those underground items, the penalty got raised to, I think, $5,000 a day. It was at 500. So we'll make sure that hopefully the architect has it in the drawings and the contractor does his blue staking one call. The
So
other
that,
item,
Brandon, just on the school district side, so when you get things designed through either an engineer or an architect, it's really important you remind, I mean, sometimes they don't know all this stuff. You'll want to whip out House Bill 152 if that passes and say, hey, architect, engineer, you put in your documents itself the requirement to call before you dig. And that just protects you and it protects them. But that'll be part of your contract.
and it did pass, so. Senate File 49, I'll hit that because it's yellow here, but it did pass last night. That's about private schools having the same opportunities that public schools do. The next one in green, those that are yellow are still going through, and green are ones that passed. Let's see, scroll up a little bit, Troy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going down a little farther. Okay. Public records.
No, I don't know if that one's at. Senate File 74 is procurement of professional services. That passed, and that's a preference bill for architects and engineers. So if you're going to do any more major maintenance or any projects coming up, that would apply. But keeping 50% of the team's contract value has to be local, keeping Wyoming people employed. The last one is down lower. The rest of them, I don't know. The Senate File 103, I don't know if it passed or not. House Bill 1, though, has the budget in it. So if you scroll down, Troy, it'll hit the items where they benefit the district. Top one, Satellite High School, that passed. John C. Schiffer, that's insured too, it passed. Shawnee, it's a modular for a rural school, reappropriation of existing funds. We have a lease for the charter school, unanticipated accounts for the commission. The security projects, it did pass and it's currently written. That's waiting to be signed on by the governor, but it's on the existing security elements. So it's an extra 5.9 million or 4.9 million on that. And then your major maintenance payment will go up a little bit. That was appropriated in that bill as well. And that's just due to the cost of construction is increasing. So they've increased that as well. And the last one is another charter school.
So Brandon, out of that 4.95 million, Niobrara will get what, maybe 4 million?
4.5. So, yeah, there'll be some coming your way, so that'll be good.
That'd be wonderful. District, so one of the things, Jordan Stewart, we've done is just kind of put this as part of it. We know you guys track the bills on the education side, and some of these are tracked also on the education side, but we felt that these are just help as you do facilities type of related projects and things within your school district, that you are aware of other bills that may have impact on you when they're approved and passed on to be followed by state statute. Any questions on that?
Nope, sounds good.
I should say approved. Okay, down to budget requests. So we talked about your preschool up above. I think we all understand that one. The SFC. So one thing that's changed, and you guys are probably aware of this, that we've traditionally given a capacity list to the commission, and then they've made recommendations to the select committee after that on based on capacity in and of itself on that list we showed you above statewide. And then we used to give a condition list by itself, and then the highest condition needs would be, potentially requested for appropriations. And then as those capacity or condition appropriations came about, they would also address educational suitability in those major capital projects. So the rules and regs have changed. One thing the state statute requires is educational suitability should be part of the measurement of prioritizing capital requests. So the commission passed the rules and regs, and so each of your buildings now are going to have 3 scores roll up into a composite score. 50% of each of your buildings will have a weighting. 50% of their weighting will be based on the condition of that building, 35% on the capacity of that building, and that's we're probably going to roll that. We don't know for sure, but our methodology requires, and even state statute requires, a district-wide capacity. So in your case, each building is the district configuration, but in larger districts, maybe they have 7 K6s. And so we would calculate the K6 on a district-wide basis for capacity and apply that 35% weighting to that percentage. And then 15% for educational suitability. Those three criteria will roll up into one composite score according to the rules and regs. So the priority list is going to look a lot different. Yes, we'll keep tracking capacity by itself, condition by itself, but the 3 of these are going to roll up into one single score, and there'll be a prioritization list representing all 3 of those for all 400 and some educational buildings. Any questions on that?
No.
Okay. So I always ask, we don't see up on the capacity, we don't see up on the condition, but we always make a straight forward request with regard to, are you requesting any capital funding this year?
No.
And then lastly, district, is there something we haven't covered today that you wanted to talk about before we close the meeting?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, staff, anything from you?
I'd just like to thank the district for working on this and appreciate your efforts.
I do have one note. We have one work order that's in the system, in the AIM system, that's been sitting there for a while. In fact, it's actually back from April 2nd of 2017. And it's work order 117655. That was put in there originally for the replace Lance Creek modular. So I would request the district go in there and cancel that one out, since we've got
a major, and that was a major maintenance. Okay, got it.
Sitting in major maintenance right now. So if we could get you to cancel that one out, since we're going forward with the new building, I would appreciate it.
And then
Okay,
there's already a work order, Bob, that is a capital work order that they're going to apply funding to. Is that correct?
Yeah, the funding's already been let by the
Oh, that's right.
legislature, so it's a moot point.
and the 117,655, that's the correct number?
Correct, yeah, 117655.
Okay,
Other than that, the other two that we had in there I've cleared, so we're good to go.
very good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you, Bob, for mentioning that. Really appreciate it. Okay, with that then, school district, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate you guys. Look forward to seeing you again in person. And thanks for just working hard on facility planning. We look forward to you guys being engaged with your legislators and with regard to maybe future considerations with regard to state statute in the future. But with that then, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks a lot.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, see you later.
Yep.